So, I was like, hey, let's set it up. Set it up. I'ma set it up. Set it up. Set it up.
Plans are to prosper you. Plans not to harm you. Plans to give you hope in the future. Trust in the Lord and He will guide you.
What's up, y'all? It's your girl Wendy, and I'm back. With another video. So, if you're new to my channel, please go ahead and consider subscribing to your girl. You know what I'm saying? Go and watch a couple. Go and watch a couple, 2-3 videos and see what your girl is about. You know what I'm saying? A1 since day one show. Appreciate you. Know what I'm talking about? Know what I'm saying already, man. It's all love. So, where I left off at in the previous video is that I was scheduled to go to DC, right? Right. So, I actually re-enlisted. So I re-enlisted for like 2 or 3 years or something like that. I re-enlisted for 3 years to meet the requirement to go to DC. So, basically, what ended up happening was, so I had like a long time span between, no, was it a long time span? No, because we got back from deployment. So I deployed 0304 to Kuwait and then 0809 to Iraq. And so what we ended up doing was we ended up coming back. I came back in November. And so I was scheduled to PCS in April. So, in April, so I was scheduled to PCS in April. So, I get a phone call and so, we're taking our leave and stuff like that. Our, regular leave. But also, I gotta go back. So when I was at Fort Bragg, the second time on the second deployment, this is when, because when I had to drive back up to Fort Lewis. So then, I stopped in Las Vegas and stuff like that. And so I kind of knew what Vegas was about. So, I was like, hey, let's set it up. Set it up. I'ma set it up. Set it up. Set it up. So I was like, so me and somebody else, we went to, they went to see their people in New Jersey. I went to see my people in Texas. And then for the last week, we met up in Las Vegas. Or was it the other way around? Yeah. So that's how it went or whatnot. So we ended up, so then, we go to DC. Oh, well, I went to DC. I went to Bolling Air Force Base and he went to the Pentagon. And so, but before we go, we're on leave and stuff like that. And just checking out different things. And so we were driving to New Jersey, and this is when the blizzard of 09 happened. That's when we took my truck because I had 4-wheel drive. So as we're driving, people I remember vividly, it was a green Honda Civic in front of us, and it spun, he was fishtailing and stuff like that. I'm like, bro, you should be driving. So we stopped in DC because we were on our way to New Jersey for something. So we stopped in DC, and when we woke up that morning, you see how high or how tall this is? Literally, the snow was literally up to here. And so I'm like, what is going on? I remember that the power was knocked out in some places and a whole bunch of other stuff. But I don't know, something happened and we was able to get out. So, we go up to New Jersey, whatever. And whenever we were deployed, some stuff was happening or whatever. And so by this time, I didn't decide anything, okay, because I didn't know nothing. Oh, man. So I decided, I was like, oh, yeah, I want a baby. Yes, it's what I said. I was like, ooh, I want a baby. I want a baby. That's what I said. And so I ended up going off of birth control on my birthday of '09. October 12th of 2009, I went off birth control because I had been on birth control faithfully. I was like, no, I don't want any kids. I don't want to be tied down. I don't want to have anybody's children. No, 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 no. I don't want no kids. But I actually thought I couldn't have kids because I had never been pregnant. And so, you know, I was just like, well, I probably can't have kids. No way. It ain't happened since then. I didn't consider that I was on birth control strong. Okay. I got on birth control when I was in basic because I was like, dude, I ain't new. Basically we go to New Jersey and whatnot. And then, you know, we're back at Bragg or whatever, and this person is in school in Georgia. And so, you know, I'm going back and forth to Georgia, he coming back to Fort Bragg, stuff like that. You know, we're seeing each other on the weekend and stuff like that. So around January 28th, 2010, something was off. Okay. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what was happening, but I know that when I went to Thai Pepper with the soldiers, because they was like, hey, Sergeant Connor, come with us. Can you come with us to lunch? So I'm in, so Win is driving, and so he driving, and so he's playing some song with a lot of heavy bass, and so he has a RX-9, RX-8, one of the little two-door sports cars, the Mazda sports cars. He had one of those. And so, you know, I'm in the car, and so the bass is thumping, and as the bass is thumping, like I feel it thumping in my stomach, and I'm like, I ain't ate nothing. I'm like, I don't know what's happening. And I felt it several times, you know what I'm saying? So like whenever the bass would thump, I would feel a thump. I'm like, man, I ain't got no gas. I'm like, man, I don't know what's happening. So I remember for like a week straight, I would go to Thai Pepper every single night. And like whenever we went for lunch, like I had them go with me. I had them go with me to Thai Pepper twice. And so whenever we would go, like I would just get spring rolls. I wasn't interested in the food. I just wanted spring rolls. So I would be inhaling the spring rolls. One time I had like 10 spring rolls. And so I knew something was wrong. You know what I'm saying? When I'm just inhaling spring rolls, I'm like, bro, what's happening? So I go, I end up, you know, having to go to the restroom, and some girl is coming out. And I was like, I'm just in amazement because I'm like, man, something ain't right with my body. I'm like, man, something is wrong. Something is wrong. Oh my God, something's wrong. So, finally, I decided, I was like, man, something ain't right. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, I don't know what it is. So I had to go to sick call because sick call was the only way that you could get an appointment. It's crazy. You couldn't just call and make a medical appointment. So I had to go to sick call. So when I went to sick call, they scheduled me an appointment so I can go, you know, go to the doctor or whatever. And so I don't remember what day I went, but I went on some day or whatever, and they took a blood test or whatnot. And so they were like, oh, you know, it'll be 2-3 days. I'm like, 2-3 days? I'm like, are you the crime lab for the police? Like 2-3 days? Are you the crime lab for the police? What? 2-3 days? So I took a test that day. I think it was a Wednesday for sure. So I took a test that Wednesday. And then that night as I'm driving home, I'm like, man, I got to know. Like, I got to know. I have to know. So I stopped by a Rite Aid, and because it was right by where I live. And so I picked up the first response pregnancy test because it was 2 of them in there, and I didn't have to do a mathematical formula, quadratic equation in order to figure out if I was pregnant or not. It said pregnant, not pregnant. So, you know, the person is, you know, done with their school or whatever. So, you know, I go take the test or whatnot. No, I'm ahead of myself. So, so I have the person on the phone. So they had given me a number to call. They gave me a number to call, and it was like, just put your social in. So I put my social in, and it was like, essentially it was like if you hear your social or whatever, you're pregnant, something like that. So it said my social. I hung up the phone. I'm starting to get nervous. I'm like, oh my God. And so he called back. He was like, what happened? I was like, I gotta let you go. I was like, I gotta let you go. I gotta let you go. I'm gonna call you back. I'm gonna call you back. So I jump in the truck and I drive to the CVS because it's not that far from where I stay at. So I drive to the not CVS. I drive to the Rite Aid, right? I get the test. This test is expensive too. I drive back home. I take the test, and when I took the test, it said pregnant. I said, you lying? I said, what? I was like, what am I gonna do with a child? I don't know what to do. What am I gonna do? How am I gonna raise a child? What? So then I took the other test too. So I told the person, I was like, look. I was like, man, I'm pregnant. And he was like, what? He was like, you lying. So I called the number back. I was like, listen for my social. I was like, listen for the last four of my social. He listened for the last four of my social. Then, and then I showed him the picture of the, he was like, you lying, let me see. So I took a picture of the pregnancy test. It said pregnant. And at this point, like, I feel the blood rush out my body. Because I didn't think that I could get pregnant. And so then in getting pregnant, I was just like, I was scared. Because I'm just like, what am I going to do with a baby? You going to have a whole baby, dog. What you going to do with a baby? So it turns out that by the time I found out, I was 6 weeks pregnant. And so, people be like, oh, you can't feel the baby at 6 weeks. That's a lie because I sure felt it. Okay. So, so we were in the process of moving. So, they came and got our household goods. So we're sleeping on an air mattress. So in sleeping on the air mattress, the air mattress would deflate. And so I would find myself sleeping on my belly. And I'm just like, oh, and so the air mattress deflated and I'm on the ground, I'm on the floor, pregnant, and I'm on my stomach, and I'm just like, oh my God. And so because I wasn't feeling her move, and so essentially I rush to the ER. I'm like, man, bruh, she in there, they do an ultrasound, right? She in there turning flips, jumping, doing somersaults. I'm thinking that she ain't in there. I'm thinking she gone because I had some, I had bleeding and stuff like that. So I'm scared because, I'm in my first trimester. I don't know what I'm doing. I ain't asked nobody for no assistance. I didn't ask my mom or nothing like that because at this point I'm 26. Okay. So when she had kids, okay, do we even need to go any further? Okay. All right. So I'm scared. And so then it happened the next week and the next week and the next week. And so, so then the last time I didn't even go, you know what I'm saying? I didn't even go to the ER because I'm like, I'm not going to keep going to this ER, them doing ultrasounds, and this girl in here playing. She was playing somersaults. What? And so it was like when they did the ultrasound. When they did the ultrasound and they shined the light in there, she was like, ooh, look at me. Ooh, look at me. 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 And I'm just like, bro, you tripping. I'm like, you tripping hard. And so, pregnancy progresses. But as I'm at Fort Bragg, I get a phone call from, a Sergeant James. And so, it's a whole interview, you know what I'm saying? So on and so forth. And so I'm like, what is going on? Because I had never had a call from anybody from the unit that I was going to be received in. So when I pulled, when I show up, because my name, with my name, you would think that I was Caucasian. And so, they were expecting a white girl. They were expecting a white girl for me, and they was expecting a white guy for him. And so we show up, and they like, they were like, what's your name? Gwendolyn. And they were like, Gwendolyn, see? Yeah. And so they were like, so then the girl take off and go into the thing, because yes, I had my picture on file, but they didn't send the pictures to them. You know what I'm saying? Like they just basically they picked you off of your qualifications. And so yeah, so the same thing happened to old boy, little buddy, same thing happened to him. And so, we talking about it, and I'm just like, okay, well, I guess it's cool. And then not only do I show up and I'm a black female and I'm pregnant. Okay. And so she was like, well, you didn't say that you were pregnant. You didn't ask if I was pregnant. It was one of them kind of things. So, go on through, DC, and then I get to, it's getting close time to have her, you know what I'm saying? And so I'm going to my medical appointments and stuff like that. And so my doctor was like, well, she was going to be out of town. And so, she had referred me to like some doctor that was like her friend, like they were really good friends. And so, I was supposed to have Joni October 1st, 2010. She came 7 days later. And then she, so when I didn't have her that Friday, I went in that Tuesday, and the doctor, she scraped my cervix or whatever. Dr. Haslett. Yeah, Dr. Haslett. She scraped my cervix or whatnot. And so it was so uncomfortable. I'm like, bruh. So basically I went in labor that Wednesday and came out with a whole baby that Friday. So she was born at 10:40, October 8th, 2010, at the President's Hospital. And so, I knew that I wanted to nurse, you know what I'm saying? Like, well, I tried nursing, it didn't work out. But I had already bought a pump, a breast pump, because I was just like, hey, this is something that I really want to do. So I was like, I want her to have, the best that she can have. So I go on, you know what I'm saying? And so, at this point, I ain't producing no milk. Okay? And she's not having any bowel movements. Even to the point, so this girl came out trying to kill herself. I don't think it was her. But so she came out and she had meconium in her mouth. So that she pooped, she defecated coming out of the canal. So she had it in her mouth. So I didn't even get to hold her right away. Like they rushed her over, taking the stuff out of her mouth and stuff like that. And so, so basically all we did was sleep. Like she didn't eat. And so, trying to latch on was difficult. Trying to, pump with the hospital grade pump was difficult. And then the lactation experts would come in, you know what I'm saying? But they wouldn't help. And so I'm just like, okay, this ain't working. This is not working out. So they were like, well, you can't leave till she has a bowel movement. So finally she had a little bowel movement. And when I say a little, it was a little, because she wasn't eating. And I refused to give her formula because I'm like, no, if I give her formula, then I'm going to have to continue to give her formula because that's what she's going to want to have a taste for. So I took a stand. I decided to take a stand. Okay. Took a stand. So then I get out of the hospital right before my birthday. She was born 4 days before my birth. She was born 4 days before my birthday. And so then my mom comes down, and so I'm a wreck. I'm a mess. My hormones are everywhere. And so I was about to give up. And so I think I had posted it on Facebook. I was like, man, my breasts hurt. She ain't eating. All she doing is crying. Because at this point, she just crying. And she crying a lot. And so praise the Lord for Ray. Praise the Lord for Ray. because Ray was like, oh, she was like, hey sis, you're engorged. She was like, you need to go into the shower, run a hot shower and massage your breast to get the milk flowing. So I did that, and I had to do that a couple of times. And so she was telling me about the warm compress and stuff like that. And so once that happened, open the floodgates of the milk ducts, let it rain. So I at first I went from producing like half an ounce, not half an ounce, it was like half an ounce. And so my mom would give her that, and then so I would go back several times, to do the compress thing. And so something happened, something popped, the Lord came through, showed up, showed out like he normally do. And so I went from producing half an ounce of milk to producing at least every time 101 ounces. So I was able to fill between 8 to 9 bottles in one sitting. And so we never had that problem again. We never had that issue again. It was amazing, okay? And I remember giving her first bath. I had like this little Tupperware container, and the water, I was scared to give her a bath, you know what I'm saying? But I knew she needed one. So I had, I'm holding her, and I take the little cloth and, put the little stuff on it. I put that cloth on her body. And so my mom was like, what's the temperature? And I'm like, it was crazy. That girl she was screaming. So then, basically finally getting the hang of it. And so, she's getting older. And so she's about, she's about 4 months. So at 4 months, we go back to Texas because my brothers get married at this point. And so, we go, I'm in the wedding, and I actually had to get my dress altered, like taken in, because I had lost so much weight after having her. And so we do that, it's a whole experience. My brother's holding her for the first time, Becca, she's in love with Joni, you know what I'm saying? It was amazing. I'm gonna insert all kind of pictures and stuff like that. So then she's about 6 months at this point. So because where we lived in Rockville. And so there's no base that's close. The nearest base is like 30 minutes. So we're about 40 minutes from any base. So I was going up to Fort Detrick. I think it was Fort Detrick, to go to the commissary. So I stopped at the Waffle House. If you know me, you know I love me some Waffle House. So I was like, well, I don't want to give her any of that other stuff. So I was like, well, let me order some eggs and give her some eggs. So I give her a little piece of egg or whatnot, because she was still on, at this point, I'm introducing her to solid food. So she had that little piece of egg, and so, we leave or whatnot. She and I leave, and not even 10 minutes later, so I'm driving, and I hear, you know the noise that babies make before they about to throw up. And so I pull over, I jump out the truck, I take her, and I, dump her over so she can throw up. And so I'm like, what's happening? Because I thought it to be odd. So then I was eating, because at this time I'm in love with peanut M&Ms. So I don't know how she got them, but she got 2 of the peanut M&Ms. And so, she sucked all the stuff off. And I'm like, how did you even get them? And how did you know to suck the stuff off? How did you suck the coating off? And so I took pictures of it. If I can find it, I'll insert it right here. So what ended up happening was she started getting like these little bumps, like all on her face. Her lips started to swell. And I'm just like, I was like, she's got to be allergic to peanuts. And so true enough, essentially, I make an appointment for her. And so, praise the Lord for the major. I do not remember his name, but I know he was sent by God, because Like what I noticed was that whenever I would have like yogurt, because I'm nursing, so whenever I would have yogurt or cereal and I would, give it to her, like, through the milk, like she would have an adverse reaction. So she would either have very loose stool or it would be something along those lines. So I'm like, man, she got to be allergic. So the pediatrician that she had at the time, and then not only that, like her legs were like super bowed. And this is not an exaggeration. Her legs were bowed like that. So, like she was having a difficult time walking. So the pediatrician that she had at the time, he was actually an allergist previously, and so he was like, oh well, we're gonna have her tested for rickets, and that's just where they have weak and brittle, I had mentioned to him, the reactions that I was seeing, so she would always get these little red bumps. So I'm just like, man, what I'm saying, like what's happening? So he was like, well, we're gonna test her for we're going to test her for allergies as well. So we're going to test her for allergies to dairy, eggs, all treating us to include peanuts, because sometimes people are like, peanuts are legumes. And so I'm like, no, she's having a reaction to them or whatnot. I was just informing him of everything that was going on. So at this point, I'm a concerned mom, you know what I'm saying? Because it's just something just don't seem right. And so also too, like she wasn't like she was eating, but she's like 4 months and she's still in like the 33 percentile. So she's really low on the growth scale as far as, gaining weight. Like she was good in length, but like gaining weight and stuff like that, like she wasn't really gaining weight and stuff. And so I'm like, man, there's something wrong with my child. And so I'm very concerned. I don't think I prayed about it because at that time I didn't really know nothing about praying except for, Lord, let me get away with it. So I'm very concerned. So like I said, the Lord sent me him. And so they did the testing for rickets. It was negative, praise the Lord. And so essentially what he did was he gave her this multivitamin, and it stunk too. It stunk. And then they did the testing for the allergies. So in doing the testing for the allergies, she was allergic to dairy. She was allergic to eggs. She was allergic to milk, cheese. She was allergic to all peanuts. She was allergic to all treatments to include peanuts. And that was about it. And so essentially what I had to do was I had to avoid those things in my diet in order for her to not, have any adverse reactions. And so, I had to, so he prescribed her an EpiPen. He prescribed her Benadryl. Oh, and then too, she had eczema as well. So she would have it in between her joints and stuff like that. She would have it like on her back and on her face sometimes. So he had prescribed her with Aquaphor and this steroid for psoriasis, but I wasn't supposed to use a steroid often. So, I'm treating her with the stuff and stuff like that. And so a little bit after that, she started gaining momentum. She started gaining weight. And so even then, even in my unsaved state, I knew that the Lord had sent that major, for us because he was such a big help, you know what I'm saying? And he, he didn't think that I was crazy, for my concerns, even though, she was so young. And so for the longest, so whatever she had, like, so I had to ensure that, whatever, so she, she wasn't eating chips and stuff like that because most of those things had whey protein. So she was allergic to milk. She wasn't allergic to milk, but she was allergic to the whey protein found in milk. And so a lot of things, what you guys don't know is a lot of things are made with that whey protein. So I essentially, she had to, her stuff was bland, like not like, she couldn't have like flavorful snacks, you know what I'm saying? And so then, I would, everywhere we go, I would have to inform them of her allergies. And so praise the Lord that I found this lady named Miss Martha, and she was a Salvadorian. My people. So she cooked good. She cooked for the children every day. Like she cooked for the kids every day. And so she gave them, they had well-rounded, wholesome meals. And so I didn't have to worry about snacks or anything like that. And so then fast forwarding, so I end up having to leave DC and go to Kansas. And so that's where I'm gonna go ahead and cut this video off at. And I'll let you guys know, what happened at Kansas, because Fort Riley, Kansas was a place I never wanted to go, but was a place that, our lives would change forever. Okay. And so this has been Journey with Wendy. I'm Wendy. This has been a story about my experience in DC. And if it seemed Joni heavy, that's because it is, because she was my experience in DC. Boo. Am I right? With that, I'm out.